A very good morning to all of you. Welcome to today's news analysis. We are doing the Indian Express Papers Chandigarh edition. Before starting, I would like to tell you we have a Telegram channel where I'm sharing current affairs based MCQs, besides mentorship and guidance, as well as the news topics that we cover. So, important documents also I keep sharing, so which will be helpful for your exam. Now, coming to the topics. So today, the topic of humanitarian pause in Gaza will be discussed alongside the G20 virtual summit, which is going on. Okay. Then we have the Janmotsav of Sant Mirabai. So important Bhakti saint, right? Now we should prepare it from pre point of view, the key writings, etc., plus also mains point of view. Previously, to 2018, there was a question asked on Shankara Deva and his contributions. So why not for Sant Mirabai? And that was for 250 words. So we should prepare this. Then there is a news article concerning the dropout rates, right? So when we look at the dropout rates, so what I've done is I was doing more research because this is a very important topic. So I have shared with you two PIBs actually, PDF with highlights. So please go through them, and it is comprehensively covered as to what is the government doing within the education sector, key facts with respect to the dropout rates. So everything is covered over here. All the points that you need are covered. Okay. Besides this, in the editorial opinion section, the focus was on the Gaza issue actually. So there are 2-3 articles on that. But one article which was hiding and seemed very important from exam point of view, specifically ethics point of view, GS4 applied ethics, was the ICC, the International Cricket Council, recently banned participation of transgender from the women's team. Right. So this seemed important. Why? Because this reflects a dilemma for regulatory authorities, sports regulatory authorities over here. That is, one of the goals is inclusion, right? So inclusion and making the sports more inclusive, that also means inclusion of transgenders. But at the same time, they have to protect the integrity of the sport. You see, there may be a case where a biological man gets operated as a woman, identifies himself as a woman, and now wants to participate in the women's team. So the gender may be now woman, but biologically may still have attributes of a male, maybe more strength wise, the advantage would be there. So having such element would give an unfavorable advantage to certain people, and thereby it affects the integrity of the sports. So what can be done in this regard, right? So that is an ethical dilemma which I feel should be prepared. If you are asked an exam, you'll not be able to think on your feet at the moment. Okay. Next, BRICS summit is in news. Pakistan wants to enter into the BRICS. So we should look at the BRICS issue overall. Okay. Next, goldfish. There is an explainer on this, that goldfish has been added into as now the state fish of Gujarat. Coming to the front page now. So yes, so it's about West Asia, the Israel-Gaza issue. Okay, it's very simple. US, Qatar, and other like-minded countries were focusing on having a humanitarian pause. That is, there is a violence that is going on between the Gaza, which is now governed by Hamas, and Israel. Okay, so Israel was into the ground offensive. Now they have agreed upon a 4-day pause, humanitarian pause. It is not a ceasefire, it is a pause. That after 4 days, Israel will again start bombing Gaza. Now, why this pause is there? This provides for a window wherein Gaza will release 50 hostages and of course, send it to Israel, while Israel will release 150 of Palestinian detainees. And in the meantime, Gaza can get the humanitarian relief from the world organizations. Okay, so this thing has been accepted by the both parties, and it so happens that there is also the G20 virtual summit going on. And in this G20 virtual summit, the leaders of these countries discussed the issue of the Israel Hamas, and they welcomed this thing. Further, there is this G20 convergence. That is basically the convergence of the viewpoints of these leaders, and they have come up with 7 points on the Palestinian issue. Okay, moving on. This news, US thwarted plot to kill Khalistan separatist, and the Canadian things are of course related. Okay, so it has come to light, some US newspaper has published that the Indian intelligence agencies were looking to assassinate Ms. Pannu, right? Gurpanwant Pannu. He's the founder of this Sikh for Justice movement. He's a Khalistani. He also recently said that he will hijack a Indian Airlines plane and bomb it. Okay, so Indian intelligence agencies, it was expected, the US got foiled the plan of Indian intelligence agencies attempting to assassinate him, and they have warned India. Okay, so that is one thing that has come to light. We don't know the truthfulness of this news, but the US said they also did not directly say it. They said that there is a pattern that is emerging. So in UK also something like this happened. In Canada also something like this had happened, already happened. Okay, in Canada, now this news that we are doing. Previously, we heard in Canada's case that Hardeep Nichar, a Khalistani, was killed. So killed on the Canadian soil. The Canada accused India that they have some information, intelligence information, that Indians intelligence agencies were responsible for the killing of this person. And they are not happy with this, that you are violating the law on the Canadian soil. Okay, so this led to the tensions between the two, and thereby both, of course, took actions against each other. Now, in the meantime, amidst all the tension, we see a possibility of normalization of ties, wherein we hear India resumes e-visa services for Canadians. That's all. That's all. Nothing more. Okay. Now, in overall this thing, when we were covering this topic, the topic of Five Eyes Alliance came up. The Five Eyes Alliance is basically the allies Canada, US, New Zealand, Australia. These countries, they have a pact that they will share intelligence information. Right? So it's believed that even the Canadians knowing was actually coming from the US inputs. Okay. Do see for yourself which all countries are part of the Five Eyes Alliance. Now we have an advertisement by the UP government, and it tells us about Mission Shakti. So it is a scheme. It's actually an umbrella scheme which covers all the aspects of the UP government with respect to women empowerment, which is addressing women-centric issues, self-reliance, security, nutrition, employment, and all the issues are put under the Women Shakti initiative. You can see even the LPG thing, everything is covered here. Okay, so that's it. Janmotsav of Mirabai, right? So the 525th birth anniversary. Now we need to prepare this topic. Okay. So Mirabai, yes. So do basic research on this, prepare a short note, plus what were the key compositions of Mirabai, all that information you must have. It's compulsory. And one more dimension to the Bhakti saints is the development of the vernacular language, right? So that is also one aspect that you can highlight while writing your answer. Just don't focus on the compositions, but do mention that it helped develop the emergence of vernacular languages. Okay, this news is important. Haryana CM has directed officials to track every child in 6 to 18 age group to ensure zero dropouts. Right. So that's it. Now, what are the, I mean, of course, when we look at the issue of dropouts, so first thing is we need to have a fact about the dropout rates. And when we talk about the dropout rates, we normally find that the girl child dropout rates are significantly higher. So there is a gender dimension to the dropout rates. So once you address this issue, start talking about the causes of the dropouts. That would be the standard approach actually. So what are the causes of the dropouts? It could be number of things. Right, you can add the gender dimension also over here. So, for example, women, especially when they come to the higher this thing, so issue of toilets, safety, conveyance. So those issues are there. Schools are at the far off place. The issue of child required to work at home. So those things are there. Now, imagine if there are two children, boy child and the girl child. So again, this household and especially a poor household has limited resources. So they feel that the girl is pariah than the focus on the male child because this person will eventually contribute to the family's income. So there are a number of dimensions. Further, students failing in the class. So that also happens because of poor learning outcomes plus poor teacher to pupil ratio. So overall, it's basically the issues faced by the education domain, which ultimately results into this thing, dropouts. So, in fact, here again, I would like to tell you that we have achieved universalization of enrollment at the initial levels, but at the later levels, we are seeing the issue of high dropouts, which the government says we have significantly addressed. They say that from 4.5% primary and secondary school, it has come down to 1.5%. I tend to disagree with this, but this is the government fact. Okay. Then if it has come down, why is Haryana doing all this, right? Okay. Then comes what measures need to be taken. One measure is mentioned over here that transport is a problem. There should be a teacher whose teacher's role should be there of additional duty of school transport officer and oversee the issue of this thing, transportation. So you see this at primary level enrollment dropout rate has come down from 1.45 to 4.5. Previously I said junior and higher, it is only for primary. Okay, now coming to the PDFs that I've shared you, this is having data from the the PIB as well as the economic survey, budget and the economic survey. Right, so this one tells us about the expenditures that the government has made. Expenditures also tell us about the schemes of the government, right? Because of course it has to. And one of the measures that have been taken is Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan or Samagra Shiksha Scheme. Samagra Shiksha Scheme is repeatedly mentioned as a way of bringing enrollment at the same time reducing dropouts. So it's Samagra means wholesome, holistic. It's actually the overall scheme of the government to deal with the education domain. It includes Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, which is universalization of education at the primary level, secondary level education, and teacher education. So it's an overall holistic scheme of the government. I want you to read this. I want you to have facts on this thing, initiative schemes, etc. you get from this document. Second document is telling us about dropouts. What is the government doing with children with special needs? Pupil to teacher ratio is not mentioned, by the way. Then the schemes of the government, so all that is mentioned. Plus, the goal of inclusive and equitable quality education is part of goal number 4 of UN Sustainable Development Goal. So from here also, for example, you can see this, what do we say, dropouts, etc. So percentage you can see from the facts. For example, 2013 dropouts have primary has come down to 4.7 to 1.5, both male and women. Secondary is given, so it's significantly higher dropout rates as compared to the primary at the higher levels. Okay, school infrastructure, the schemes of the government, so all that is covered. Now, one more thing, when we talk about education, another important theme that is emerging is UNICEF, which deals with education, part of UN. UNICEF has said that the government has focused good on enrollment in India's case, but the quality of learning or the learning outcomes stand to remain poor. So that is again, so infrastructure is created, schools are created, students are, you make them go to the school, but then people are dropping out of the school, right? So dropping out or learning outcomes are not there when independent assessments are made. So that thing is also there. Now, with regards to this, one of the initiatives is the Ministry of Education coming up with performance grading index, right? And it includes the following elements. It ranks institutions, of course, 5 domains: learning outcomes, access, infrastructure, facilities, equity, and governance process. Okay. So what, you know what, I told you all so many things. These things it took me years to understand. You got this in what, 2 minutes, I think. But do work on all this. It's still required. Tropicana is in trouble for calling itself the world #1 juice brand for misrepresenting and misinforming the public. Okay. Uh, Supreme Court is hearing a case concerning the arrest powers of Enforcement Directorate under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Right. So previously, Supreme Court had a 3-judge bench of the Supreme Court in 2022. They agreed with the ED's power, which is not police, to arrest and detain people who are found of violative of the provisions of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Okay. So Supreme Court is now simply considering if this should be reviewed by a bigger bench, a 5 judges bench, if it should be heard by that. That's all. They are not looking into the legality of the judgment, nothing of that sort. Oh, by the way, Enforcement Directorate we have to study, right? So that has to be done. Enforcement Directorate comes under Ministry of Finance and Department of Revenue. So it comes under this. It was formed way back. I don't think it is a statutory body, not mentioned anywhere. It implements it investigates the cases under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act and Fugitive Economic Offenders Act. This responsibility was added later. So basically all these things are there. Even Foreign Exchange Management Act is part of it. Normally we associate it with PMLA, but even Foreign Exchange Management Act is also there. Okay, elections, this thing is going on. Okay. Editorial opinion section. Nothing much to worry today. Rahul Gandhi's remark against Prime Minister calling him Panoti. So it's right, they're stooping low. This is about Syed Atta Hasnain, a former Lieutenant General. He is talking about the evacuation from the tunnel and approach of the government, which we have discussed number of times over here. Okay. Then is seize the truce. This is about the humanitarian pause in Gaza that is there, right? This has happened because of the role of the two countries, particular US and Qatar. Okay, so both maintained lines of communications, right? And they negotiated openly with Israel. Qatar also has some of the people from Hamas leadership over here. They played a role in bringing up the negotiation. So that's it first, and then it says what steps need to be taken further. So it says that humanitarian aid and cessation of hostilities. Second is terrorism and military attacks on civilians must stop, and two-state solution. Two-state solution means coexistence of Israel and Palestine. Next, very important, catch up and play. So as the universal understanding of gender goes beyond binary, that is male and female, can fairness and sport exist alongside exclusion? See, there is a dilemma over here, and please read this. Can a sports commitment to inclusion align with its aim to protect the integrity of the game? Right, as I explained before. So, for example, when you read this, the inclusion of trans athletes is in women's game is based on the perceived physical advantage they gain. So this is the reason why ICC banned the participation of trans in the women's team. So there is this dilemma of managing inclusion with protecting the integrity of the game. Now, with regards to this, definitely there is a problem. So, what balancing act can be done? One has been suggested is what Olympics is doing, but that is an individual sports. So they have, of course, male, women, male categories are there, but they have also kept the category of open category where anybody can participate. So that thing is there. So this is a dilemma that has to be addressed. Again, here we didn't get much points actually. It requires more thought. Okay. So yes, world news now. Germany to send missiles, mines, shells to Ukraine in the Ukraine-Russia war. Pakistan applies for BRICS, seeks Russia support. Why Russia support? China's a better friend, right? So see, the upcoming BRICS summit is taking place in Russia. So Russia's presidency, it is happening, and Pakistan wants to be part of this. India will definitely have problems with this development. Okay. Now, some more about the expansion of the BRICS. Previously, we had discussed this. So BRICS has been expanding, right? Previously, it was only these 5 countries, BRICS. Now it is expanding. The last year summit, Johannesburg summit, South Africa, Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, UAE became part of the BRICS. Now, as to the prelims is concerned, I have seen this. For example, in 2014 prelims, a question was asked on Fortaleza Declaration. Right. Then we have a question on the BRICS, which year BRICS was started. Likewise, when did India became that was for SCO actually. When did India became part of which summit India became part of the SCO? But such questions are being asked in the prelims. So I think you should look at the first summit, which took place in Russia, which was BRICS. It became BRICS in 2010. Then we have Fortaleza Declaration, and then we have the Beijing. So Beijing Declaration not important. Then we have the Johannesburg summit, wherein the expansion took place, the most recent one. Right. Now, from a BRICS point of view, again, the emerging topics are the concerns that India may have with respect to the expansion of the BRICS. That is one thing. The other issue that we can look at is the overall issues concerning BRICS, then the proposal of creation of the new development bank, and contingency reserve agreement, which is similar to the IMF actually. So these two things which seem to be important to me. Coming to the economy section, oil is at 83, dollar is at 83. Okay. So very quickly, RBI governor asked banks, NBFCs to avoid all forms of exuberance. Exuberance means excitement and keep giving credit. So previously, RBI in its financial stability report had raised concerns about the growth of unsecured credit. RBI raised red flags, and this means the credit card loans also, that they had raised concerns. Okay, so what RBI did was, to deal with this issue, RBI increases, to make the banks change their policy, it increased the risk weighted asset ratio. That is more risk is involved in unsecured, so the banks would have, so it is more risky to give loans, so therefore more capital requirement is there, right? So with respect to the risk, more capital asset has to be there with the bank. Okay, so that was that. So this pushed the cost of credit. So this is the recent development that has taken place with regards to the RBI. Further, governor is kind of giving a caution to the heads of the banks and the NBFCs. Next, we have this IPEF negotiation going on. So seventh round of negotiation is going on. And one of the key issues is the trade pillar of IPEF. So first of all, what is IPEF? Then what are the pillars? And then lastly, the trade pillar and concerns that India has. Okay. So IPEF is a proposal that US had come up with. It is said to be a bit against China. So it's a proposal that US came up with. So you can see the map of Pacific. It's showing it over here, but US lies somewhere over here, and these countries are the founding members of IPEF. China is not there. So they came up with an arrangement that these countries would cooperate on the following pillars, that is trade, supply chains, clean economy, and fair economy, which includes measures like like tax and anti-corruption. So there are these four pillars. Now India agreed with the three pillars, minus one pillar it didn't agree with was the trade, the pillar on trade. It has problem with this. Basically, India's problems are that with becoming a member of the trade, the problems are that India would have to give market access, and these countries have an advantage vis-a-vis the Indian economy. Okay. Now the officials are saying that they are not very clear as to why should India join the IPEF. And it is logical. They are saying that they are not getting market access. India is not getting market access. Right. So what is the point of joining the trade pillar? That is what they have raised concern. But they do say that IPEF has been open to address the concerns of other countries, including India. For example, India says that India wants to put restrictions on export on food items. So those restrictions are not there because US, etc., want India to not giving, not exporting, putting restrictions on export because of the food shortage issue that was happening. But India wants to put restrictions so that it can manage the domestic supply. So that restriction is not there. Besides, they have also opened to the idea of using coal power previously. Coal is unclean power, so polluting. So that because India had concern regarding this, so they addressed this issue. Now we come to the explained section. So this one, the goldfish. This is it has been declared as the state fish of Gujarat. So what is this goldfish? Goldfish is Protoni B dicanthus. It has this economic value and uniqueness. It is not very commonly found. It is very rare but very expensive. It has huge market in China and lottery for fishermen. 1 kilo is like rupees 5,000 to 15,000 per kg, and their air bladder, etc., it is much more, 25,000 rupees a kg, something like that. Okay. Other fishes that were under consideration were ribbon fish, pomfret, and Bombay duck. Okay, so this basically concludes the news analysis. Thank you for streaming.